The point you're making is entirely correct, which is Britain is very good at absorbing people from other places.
And better than most of the European countries. That's
I've made this point my entire public career. I've said this is the best place to be an immigrant in the world, okay?
And that's not to say we don't have really serious issues, what we do.
And what I would say to you is, the reason we're having the conversation about immigration is not that people feel that me or Francis's mother coming here has been a disaster for this country.
I mean,
there are people who feel that way, right? The reason people feel strongly about immigration is they see the numbers that we have had over the last 2 decades. They naturally, people will, I think quite reasonably, project that into the future for the reason that Francis gave, which is, it doesn't matter what politicians say, they're not dealing with this issue. That means, are we going to have millions and millions and millions and millions more people coming? And then they go, what is the impact of that scale? It's not about immigrants and our willingness to welcome them. It's about the scale. What is the impact on our infrastructure? What is the impact on societal cohesion?
You bet.
What is the... Look, this is something that no one wants to talk about, especially in these kind of places, but I as an immigrant can say it. At what percentage of the native population does England cease to be England? Is it 50%? Is it 40%? Is it 10%? When there are no English people left, is it still England? Right? That is a thing that no one wants to talk about, but I know millions of people subtly feel, and not just English or British people. My relatives from Russia or Ukraine or Armenia or whatever, they come to Heathrow and they go, is this still England? Right? Now, you could say that shows the success of our society. There's a hell of a lot of people who don't agree with you.
That's right. I mean, do we regard Rishi Sunak as English, for example?
I've always said, this is a very unpopular thing, that I'm not English, I will never be English. I don't think Rishi Sunak is English. We're both British. Well, we're not English.
No, you're from... You weren't born here. You were an immigrant.
No, but my son was born here. I don't think my son is English.
Right.
He's born to a Russian
again,
and Ukrainian
that's definition,
immigrant.
right? I would say that Rishi Sunak is as English as Tizer and Wyferns, right? He is absolutely English. He was born and bred here. And I wouldn't say that the colour of his skin makes him any
He's
less.
a brown Hindu. How is he English?
Because he's born and bred here.
So by being born here, you become English, in your opinion?
Yeah.
English, because there's a difference, right?
I don't think English is national. Look, I'm a Scotch, right?
Yeah.
Now, are my kids English? I would say they are.
How?
Because they were born here.
They're Scottish.
Nope.
By blood.
No,
right?
they've hardly ever been to Scotland, unfortunately.
So what?
By blood, so give me this. I mean,
my son is born to a Russian and a Ukrainian, right? How on earth is he English?
Because he was born here. I mean,
you think that being born in a country makes you that of that? So if your children had been born in Japan, would they be Japanese?
If they were born there, look, you get white Caribbean people, for example.
Hold on, just the Japanese example. Would they be Japanese?
If they were born there and lived their life there, then yeah. Look, this all comes down to I think
the imperial identity I get, and I've said this, right? People should be able to come to this country and they buy into the imperial overarching identities.
Exactly.
We're all British. That's fine with me. But pretending that my son is English, what? Come on.
It depends if you think English has got an ethnic undertone. Now,
of course it does.
Well, I disagree. And by the way, you might say it's not my country.
Okay, what about, what about
but
Japanese people?
I would say Hamza Yusuf, for example, is Scottish. Right? So look, you might disagree with me. People have different definitions of this. But in my opinion, if you're born in a country, you are of that country. And I can look at my sons of half Scottish, half Slavic blood. Right? If you were to do one of these Ancestry.com tests, they might say that. But in what meaningful sense are they half Czech, really? I mean, they don't know the first thing about Czech Republic. I mean, they know everything about England because they were born here. This is they cheer for England's football teams now. It took them a while, but they do. So that's the way I see nationality. Now, I know that not everybody does that. Now, again,
most people don't. The overwhelming majority of people don't see nationality in every country in the world.
But I'm giving you my answer.
Yeah,
and I think that take, for example, my wife. Now, she was born to refugee parents. They fled the Soviets. And she brought up in Sweden, but she never felt Swedish because she felt that the word Swedish, the way that people used it, did have an ethnic undertone. If you looked a little bit dusky, right? If you look a little bit foreign, then you would not be seen to be Swedish, right? Now, it's very strange because I don't look at her and see somebody who looks a bit foreign. But only if you see it for the Swede's eyes. You might look at you for it, and you might struggle to patch yourself off as a Swede. I don't know. It's not something I don't think we really spend much time in this country looking at somebody. Look at Konstantin, right? Is he? I don't know. You might guess, but it wouldn't be that much that important. Here, she does not feel like an alien. Now, perhaps she is because she's an immigrant. But weirdly, she felt more of an alien in Sweden, where
that
she
makes
was born,
sense to me,
but she does here.
because we have as I said, an overarching identity. It's the same in America. It's actually to a lesser extent, but very similar in Russia, where Armenians can be Russian if they're, but Russian in an overarching sense. No one would think they're ethnically Russian, right? The point I'm trying to make to you is, a country is what a country is, and when that country changes over time in a way that's both visually and culturally different, that is a discombobulating thing for the vast majority of the people who live in that place. Maybe not for you, maybe not for lots of people in the media, maybe not for lots of people in the building across the road and in Parliament, but for the vast majority of people in this country, their sense is that when the country ceases to be visually the same as it was at some point, there is a level when it ceases to be that country.
Well, the countries always change. You had the Gael, the Pict, the Saxon, the Dane. I mean, you have got patterns. By the way, I don't want for a second to seem to be disparage or diminish people who feel that way. These are hugely important, and I think we make a grave mistake if we say, oh, they're all racist, so let's not talk about it. And when you boil down the concerns, they usually are very practical ones, like how's my kid going to get to school? Or they're going to be up against the world's workforce. This is going to make their life tougher. Or where are they all going to live? It's all overcrowded. Now, that would be true if they were a whole bunch of